Shalom everybody, hope you're doing well. Hope you had an amazing week getting ready for Shabbat here in Eretz Yisrael, Parshat Bechukotai, the last Parsha of Sefer Vayikra, Chazak V'nit Chazek. Right, so this week's Torah portion starts with the words Im Bechukotai Telechu V'et Mitzvotai Tishmeu V'asitem Otam. So the Torah says if you walk in the ways of God, basically, if you walk in the Chukim, the laws that maybe don't have an apparent rational understanding, vet mitzvotai, and my mitzvot, my not only commandments but my holy suggestions for you on how to live in this world. If you keep these ways, if you do these things, right? V'natati gishmechem bitam. Right, I will give you your rains in its proper time, in their proper times. V'natna ha'aretz yuvolan, the land will give its produce. V'etz hasadeh yitin piro, and the tree of the field will give its fruit. So it's an amazing thing in the two opening verses of this week's Torah portion, because the first verse says, if you keep my mitzvot, if you keep my chukim, if you keep my laws, if you keep my ways. And the second verse basically comes to answer what will happen. And what is it? You'll have a good life. Right? There'll be rains, the proper rains, the good rain, abundant rain. The land will give its produce. The trees will give its fruit. Yefemod. Right? That's little Vivi over there. And it seems to be setting up a relationship of cause and effect, of you do your part and the world will do its part, which is a beautiful thing. It shows this relationship between us humans and the world, which we'll get back to in just a second. But it also brings up a problem for many of the Meforshim. It says, but the Torah right here seems to be giving a reward for our actions. And there's an idea, there's a cloud, there's a general understanding that the Torah doesn't talk about reward, right, for the doing of the mitzvot, for the performing of the chukim and the mitzvot. But right here it seems apparently that's what's happening. And so specifically the Nitivot Shalom explains something very, very beautiful. The Nitivot Shalom explains that here, though it seems like on the surface that there's a reward being given, a reward being explained for the doing of the mitzvot and the chukim, it's not that at all. What's happening here is to tell us, human beings in general and Jews in specific, that there is a very deep relationship between us and the world, between us and the earth, between our actions and the world and the earth. Right? And when we act in the way that we're supposed to, that we're meant to, that we can and should, so the world will follow. There's a very deep relationship. So it's not necessarily a reward, it's just saying that's what will naturally happen. The Nitivot Shalom explains that's the nature of things. The nature of the world was created in such a way that the world responds to our actions. How we act determines how the world acts. And what the Torah is saying here is if we do what we're supposed to do, if we live lives of holiness and kindness and thoughtfulness and awareness, so the world will act in response. That the world will give all of its blessing to us, to the entire human race, right, in kind. But if we don't, God forbid, so the world won't work the way that it could and the way that it should, with all of its bounty and with all of its blessing. And we see this being shown in a very apparent way a little bit later in this week's Torah portion. Right, last week we learned about the mitzvah of Shemitah, right, the seventh year, the sabbatical year, letting your fields rest once every 7 years, which is coming up just this upcoming Rosh Hashanah. And in this week's Torah portion it says that if you don't keep the Shemitah year, right, the punishment for that, the result, the effect of that will be galut, will be exile. That the Jewish people will be removed from their land if they don't keep the Shemitah year. And in fact, that the years of exile will be in return for the years of Shemitah that were never kept. And so again, we're seeing this cause and effect, this very deep relationship between our actions and the land itself, the world all around us. That if we act in a certain way, the world will act in a certain way. That if we, and specifically in terms of this mitzvah, if we don't keep the Shemitah year, the land will say, hey, I'm going to get my rest no matter what, either with you or without you. Ideally with you, and you'll be here for it, and you'll stick around, so to speak. But if not, if you don't give me the land its rest, as God explains in the Torah, so I'm going to take my rest without you. It just will be, unfortunately, without you. Right? So it's a very big idea, reward, punishment, reaction, relationship. But I think it's a very beautiful thing. It gives us incredible encouragement and shows us the power of our actions. That we have the ability to change this world on so many levels. That my actions, both in my private life and in the public sphere, actually has an impact, which we've talked about many times in other weeks. Right? That if I do what I'm supposed to do, right, that the world will respond in kind. I remember a story once of a woman who was on a spiritual journey trying to find her place and her way in this world. She was a Jewish woman, and she basically found herself in India, right, checking out all different kind of philosophies and spiritual practices, and she met a person who basically told her, the way you eat, what you eat, how you eat, what you choose to put in your body, can impact a person halfway across the world, can impact either blessing and bounty, or God forbid, plague and hunger. And in that place in her life, that was such an incredibly profound concept that she never heard before, coming from the Jewish tradition, right? This person that she had met was teaching this idea from a Jewish perspective, telling her that our actions are so much bigger than we realize and so much bigger than we think. They're so beyond us, right? Which could be overwhelming or it could be incredibly empowering, right? B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be blessed to know the power that we hold and the ability that we have to affect the world for the good, and the ability that we have to increase the light in this world. B'ezrat Hashem, all of us, me and you included, we should make incredible choices for ourselves, for our family, for our loved ones, for our community, for our nation, for the entire world, and bring true redemption and peace to this entire world. B'ezrat Hashem soon in our days. Much love and blessing from the land of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.